Ja ne mogu pomoći, moram ovo napraviti. Pa više bubica nije dobra. Miki, daj mi drugu bubicu. Evo, baci tu unutra. Šta rade?
Samo ovo nam treba. Ja, možete ovo negdje zakačiti tu, ovdje ovako.
A jel mi to treba? Mislim,
A, pa to je mikrofon. Pa mislim, kao, čuće se ako stavite ga tu, ali neće baš najbolje, jel? Kako god hoćete, možete ga staviti.
A, dobro. Ajde, stavit ću. Okay. Cool. Hello, my name is Ivan Sindrich, and I work for company Concho Digital, and today I'll be talking to you about cybersecurity of digital applications for critical infrastructure. Now, first of all, what is critical infrastructure? So, if we divide them by area, you can see those are energy, chemical sector, transportation sector, water, communication, financial sector, healthcare, and so on and so on. So what do all of those sectors have in common? Well, basically, they are important for safety and the normal functioning of a state or for safety of its citizens and people. So basically, all of the areas that can cause financial or any other harm to people or to a state. So how do you supervise and control such critical infrastructures? Well, using operational technology. Now, what's operational technology, or OT? Well, that's an integration of hardware and software device to supervise and control said critical infrastructure. Most of the time when we're talking about OT, the way to supervise and control it is using something called SCADA systems, so supervisory and control data acquisition systems, or more broadly, industrial communications systems. So basically, OT is a combination of both software and hardware to enhance the efficiency, safety, and reliability of industrial processes. How is it different from IT? Well, when we're talking about IT, we're most of the time talking just about the data, not about the real world. So OT has direct link to real world. So be it controlling oil pipes or energy or, I don't know, electricity in hydroelectric power dams and so on. So what would be the differences between IT and OT? So when it comes to purpose, as we said, IT is more of a general computing environment. So IT basically is, you know, your common servers, your internet infrastructure, your normal home offices, and so on. While OT, as we said, controls physical processes and equipment, and it deals with both safety and security. What's the difference between those two? We'll come to that later. So when it comes to equipment, in IT, the average lifespan of the equipment is basically 2 to maybe 5 or at maximum 7 years. If you have a laptop that's 10 years old, you consider that to be an achievement. While in OT, Well, those devices are expected to last at least 10 years, maybe even more, because they're built to be robust and to last a long time in harsh conditions. So a lot of time you have to deal with legacy technology, which is even couple of decades old. So, and you also have specialized equipment, for example, PLCs, which are programmable logic controllers shown on the picture below. When it comes to communication, for the same reason, because you deal with legacy equipment, you have legacy, or well, not legacy, but old industrial protocols that were built way back when even the term cyber security wasn't even invented yet. So of course they're not as secure as I don't know, HTTPS or SSH or modern IT protocols. When it comes to security in OT, as we said, we have to take two things into account. Firstly, security. When we talk about security in IT or OT, we're basically talking about cyber security, which means that we deal with protection of data, be it in transit or at rest. While in OT, we also have to take into account safety, which means that since we control physical processes and, real physical devices, those devices, if they're under cyber attack, that can lead to safety issues, such as people getting hurt or environment getting hurt. For example, just imagine what would happen if someone would shut off, I don't know, an oil refinery at the wrong time. Things can go really wrong really fast. So when we're talking about security in OT, we also have to take safety into account. So because of that, if we talk about cybersecurity, we can talk about it through three basic security requirements, which are confidentiality, availability, and integrity. Now, in IT, the most important thing for cybersecurity is confidentiality, meaning when you talk to someone online, you expect that conversation or your emails to be confidential and only readable to you and the receiver. Integrity means that the messages that you send will come unaltered to the other side, while availability means that the system that you are using, you expect it to be online when you need it. Now, I know that maybe if Facebook goes down, it does feel like the end of the world, but it isn't necessarily. While in OT, well, availability is a high priority. Why? Because if system goes offline in a wrong time, for example, air traffic control, if it goes down, it can cause a lot of trouble. And also, since we talked about oil refineries, when the system is offline, every second it's offline can be measured in amount of dollars that the company loses. So availability is high priority, which of course goes hand in hand with the integrity of the data being sent. What does that mean? Well, if you get some measurement from your endpoint devices that say that the temperature is so-and-so or the power levels are so-and-so, you expect that data to be correct so that you can make correct decisions based upon them and send some commands to open something or close some valve or whatever. That's why integrity needs to be high on the list of priorities, because you expect the data to be correct. Now, by default, since availability and integrity is important, confidentiality comes third, which means, yeah, system, first of all, should work, but then it would be also nice if it works in a confidential way. Okay. So when it comes to updating the OT environments, since we said that availability is first and foremost, you can't just have patch Tuesdays like with Microsoft Windows and update your system every Tuesday and expect everything to work, and if it doesn't work, just roll back something. No. Every time you do an update, the system needs to go offline. There needs to be a scheduled maintenance period in which you install the updates and then you thoroughly test the system to make sure that everything works correctly, because, as we said before, safety is an issue there are serious consequences if an update breaks the system. Okay, when it comes to connectivity, IT is inherently connected. We sometimes, just mix IT with internet, while OT is by its definition, or at least historically speaking, isolated. So be it like some power plant or some facility, be it physically isolated or just, logically isolated. So here we talk about segmentation of the networks. Now, in an ideal world, it would look like this. For example, in some major city, you have your company's enterprise network, and if it needs to talk with your industrial network, you can't just have a straight cable that goes from your enterprise network directly to something that controls your field devices. You need to have something called DMZ, or demilitarized zone, meaning that there needs to be some sort of a middleman between your devices and your enterprise network and your devices in an industrial network. And the communication is done through conduits, which are basically just wires that you absolutely need to make sure and know at all times who is on either side of that connection, why is someone connecting, when is someone connecting, and for how long someone will be connecting to it. Okay, data types, well, basically IT has a lot of data types, be it images, be it sound, whatever, while OT focuses on real-time data. Now, what's real-time data? You get a lot of measurements from your devices in real time, meaning thousands of measurements per second, and you need to be able to control the data, read the data, and process the data in real time, and make decisions based on that data. Okay. Now, just to give you some picture on what happens when there is an attack in OT and what are the consequences, I will show you two, well, most famous or maybe infamous attacks that happened during the last decade or so. So the most famous or infamous one is called Stuxnet. So Stuxnet probably caused somewhere probably about $1 billion damage to Iranian nuclear program. So it was first discovered in 2010. So basically what it did, it got into their nuclear facility, which was, again, completely isolated. It had their own power supply, their own internet, their own everything, and it was physically isolated from the rest of the world. So how did the virus got in? Well, the virus was spread through the whole world and infected basically at some point a significant portion of the whole internet. And someone, it is thought, used the same USB stick at their home computer and in a nuclear facility, which of course isn't a great idea. And the virus got in. Now, what did the virus do? It was really subtle. So it looked for Siemens programmable logic controllers that controlled the centrifuges that were used for enriching the uranium. And it just slightly changed the rotation speeds of those centrifuges, and during a period of time, all of those centrifuges, because of that, got worn out and destroyed, which set back the Iranian nuclear program by a couple of years in that point. Of course, this kind of attack is really expensive because, first of all, you need to know what technology is used in an isolated nuclear site, so you need to know a lot about that nuclear site. So it is guessed that it was sponsored by both USA and Israel. And of course, those attacks have heavy consequences, but also are extremely expensive to do. The second infamous one is called Black Energy 3. So back in 2015, a couple of months after the annexation of Crimea, someone attacked Ukrainian power industry. And how they did that, basically they sent a spear phishing email to the employees of the power company, which had a title something like, mobilization information about Ukrainian military. Now, if you're a Ukrainian citizen at that time, you were of course interested to know if you were going to get mobilized. So you opened the email, you saw some Word document, you downloaded it, and there was a pop-up saying, do you want to enable macros, whatever. You clicked OK because you wanted to see the information inside. Once they clicked the OK button, they installed a backdoor to their system. So the attackers got into the enterprise network. They were there for more than half a year studying the network. They found a way to the industrial networks, and on December 23rd of 2015, they caused a power outage for roughly 230,000 consumers in Ukraine for 1 to 6 hours. Ukrainians had to go to all the power stations and basically physically turn the switches back on because remote control was completely disabled and destroyed. So the consequences could have been a lot greater, but for some reason the attackers didn't do everything they could have done. So it is thought that it was probably more of a warning than a real attack. So what are the most common vulnerabilities in OT? Well, as you may have guessed, the first and most important one is the outdated and unpatched software. So because you deal with a lot of legacy hardware and a lot of old systems, be it because they don't have time to maintain it or because they can't maintain it anymore, the system is just left to be unpatched, which of course leads to vulnerabilities, which goes hand in hand with lack of proper security update procedures. Then this isn't really specific to IT, but to IT or OT, but weak passwords. I mean, if you have all the protection in the world and your password is on a post-it note, and it's 1, 2, 3 through 8, of course, you will get hacked. And lack of segmentation. So if you have, let's say, 30-year-old system, and the picture I shown you before shows how, in an ideal world, a network segmentation would look like, and it's here on the right. But how it looks like most of the time is somewhere between what's on the right and what's on the left. Basically, you just have some old computers strung together with a wire, which, of course, again, isn't such a great idea. And insecure protocols, as we said, those protocols are old, most of the time unencrypted, so someone can sniff the data and alter it, intercept it, and use it in a bad way. And probably the biggest problem in both IT and OT is human factors. So today you do have pretty good cyber security technologies and algorithms and whatnot, but that doesn't really matter if you have people who are either unaware, are not educated about cybersecurity, or maybe intentionally or unintentionally do harm to those systems. For example, Stuxnet. Yeah, the facility was completely secure, but someone decided to bring a USB stick from home and destroy their uranium facility. And of course, supply chain vulnerabilities. So if you have a device or something in your own system, and if the maker of that device isn't cyber secure in any way, you again have a vulnerability in your system. Okay, so how do you secure industrial applications? You can do it by using this standard called IEC 62443. So basically, that's a group of standards for industrial cybersecurity, which are just basically a bunch of guidelines and requirements on how to improve this cybersecurity in your systems. The topics in those standards range from risk assessment guidelines to write security policies, technical controls, all the way to how to secure specific components and so on and so on. So these are the documents in that standard. So they're split into 4 categories. The first category is just your basic terminology and how to measure security and so on. In the second group, you have security policies and procedures for both service providers and asset owners. So as we talked about supply chain security, if you're a service provider, for example, you provide some sort of an application, both you and the other side need to be cyber secure. So you need to develop it on a secure way, and they need to install it in a secure way. So then you have system cybersecurity, basically risk assessments, and component cybersecurity. So secure product development lifecycle and requirements for those components. So secure software development lifecycle is the way how to secure your applications. Basically, this picture up there on the right is the way how to do it. So this is the generic representation of a secure software development lifecycle. So it starts from planning, then you have analysis, design, development, testing, release, maintenance, and then all of those steps again. IC 62443 basically takes this idea and just adapts it to industrial environments, so it just specifies it a bit more. Bear in mind, all of these standards are pretty generic, so they don't give you, exact step-by-steps, more of guidelines that you need to follow, checklists to see if you've done everything that you were supposed to do. So the document is split into a couple of parts, the first part being security management. Now, this part is a little bit dry, but it's also the most useful part of the whole presentation, so I would suggest that you pay attention. So the first part, security management or planning, if you remember the circle. So first of all, you need to broadly or from a high perspective define all of your components that you need to protect, determine the organizational roles, and check that all of your roles have an appropriate security expertise for that position. Also, you need to protect your code base from being accessed and altered during the development process. And as we've seen, this picture goes in a circle, so all of these steps need to be continuously improved. Okay, so after you've done some high abstraction and analysis, now you come to the specification. Now, the most important part of this step is called a threat model. So you need to know what you are protecting against. So you basically sketch all of your information flows through your application, all of the data stores, all the processes, and then you determine what kind of potential threats, attack vectors you have, and how to mitigate against those threats. And again, you have to review it and update it periodically. Now, when you design a product, these are the best practices how to do it. So least privilege, meaning that if you have user accounts, the user should be able to do just what he needs to do, no more, no less. Okay, proven secure components and designs, meaning that if you use JavaScript, please don't use packets that have like 5 people working on it, because that will haunt you later. Secure design patterns, attack surface reduction, meaning that if you don't need to have 20 input fields, don't have 20 input fields in your application, and you need to basically, in all of these steps, document everything. And of course, this concept, defense in depth. So always assume that the previous layer of your application can be compromised, meaning that if you have, let's say, an input field where a user can enter some information which gets stored in a database, assume that user will try to do something harmful. So check the data when it's being entered, check the data when it's being sent from front end to back end, check it then again when you receive it, check it when you save it into the database. Basically, defense in depth, each layer assumes that the layer in front of it can be compromised. Okay, now secure development. You need to identify the security requirements which were not adequately addressed. Secure coding standards, for example, don't use banned functions, be it old cryptographical algorithms or, for example, some bad practices when sanitizing the data that you get, so that you avoid, for example, SQL injections. Static code analysis, of course, always review the implementation and examine whether the threats that you identified are successfully mitigated. Now, when it comes to testing, you have a couple of ways of testing the application. So security requirements testing, threat mitigation testing, vulnerability testing, and in the end, penetration testing. Now, the most important thing about this part is the last bullet point. Individuals performing testing should be independent from the developers, meaning that when you develop an application, you inherently develop also your own personal biases towards the application, which means that you probably don't see all of the potential issues, or you see too much, so you can't really objectively test your own application. So testing should always be done by a third party. Okay, maintenance, again, management of security-related issues. Basically, you need to have a way for your customer to report an issue, and you need to have a way to track that issue in a timely manner. So basically, issue tracking software. When it comes to updates, when you create a patch, you need to test it and evaluate that it doesn't affect the stability of the system. As we said, availability is first and foremost in priorities. And then you need to document the security patches so that the customer knows what did you patch, how did you patch it, and how to install it, and what are, if there are any possible consequences of the patches. Okay, and last one, as we said, document everything. So you need to have security policies for your software, ranging from procedures for your software, then architectural considerations, meaning that your application goes into a system which is a bigger system than just your application. So you need to specify what kind of firewalls do you expect, and what kind of protections do you expect from the system around it. So how to configure your security settings, and what tools to use to harden the system. Basically, how to close all the ports that you need, how to disable all the processes that you need, and so on. So as we said, it isn't enough to just secure your application. Why? Because as we said, your application within an OT environment is just one part of a larger whole, which inherently isn't secure because it's old, it's legacy, and so on and so on. So how do you protect the whole system? Well, IEC 62443 took this NIST framework and just, again, adapted it for OT. So basically, you just follow these 5 steps: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. So identify, as we said, you need to know what are the vulnerabilities that you expect, and what are the risks associated with your application. Then when you know those risks, you know how to protect against them and how to do your backups and everything you need. Now, no system in the world is 100% secure, so you also need to detect any vulnerabilities that may and will occur during your normal operations. So how do you detect those? Well, some sort of system that collects logs from all the devices and analyzes them to see if anything is suspicious. Once something does go wrong, you need to have a way to respond to this cybersecurity incident and to bring the system back to its normal operation state as soon as possible. So you need to also train those response plans, because if you don't do that, the first time you have an incident, you won't handle it properly. So as we said, recover, you need to have recovery plans to get the system back online as soon as possible. Okay, so what are some key takeaways from this presentation? Well, as we said, the industrial application by themselves are not an isolated island, meaning that you also need to make sure that the system as a whole is being cyber secure. So how do you do that? Well, I've shown you today, for example, NIST frameworks, ISO, IEC frameworks. Basically, you have guidelines already. You or me, we are not the first people who thought of securing those systems, so guidelines do exist. And also, NIS2 directive is a legislation that was accepted by European Union and Croatia recently, meaning that from now on, the industry will need to be cyber secure by law, meaning that all of the critical infrastructure I mentioned earlier will need to be cyber secure and will need to do some sort of security in this way. Okay, that's everything. Thank you. Any questions?
How do you monitor your systems when you have networks that are kind of segregated, and what kind of technology do you use for that?
Well, in a
How do you know that you are under attack? Let's say.
okay, so in an IT environment, I don't know if you heard about security operations centers. You did. Okay, so basically you have some agents installed all of your endpoint devices or in the network, and you get all the information about what data is being sent, who is sending the data to whom, and you analyze the data. Basically, modern security operations centers do most of that work automatically. But when we're talking about OT, what's the difference? OT is really inertial to accepting any new technology. So an idea that you would send that data outside is kind of sketchy. People are starting to do that, but not everyone. So basically you would need to have an on-site security operations center which can handle most of, at least, well, security operations centers are generally divided into 3 layers. So the first layer being just, you know, your basic events. Second layer, if something does go wrong and you need to check it. Third layer being, okay, we have an incident, you need to have an expert look into it. You have devices that can handle first layer 100%, second layer 50%. But yeah, the main problem is basically how much data are you willing to send outside of your facility, and also you need to have a connection then. And that connection by itself can become a security issue. So that's a good question, which unfortunately there is no correct answer yet, because no one is sure, well, no one is sure how reliable cloud infrastructure is for critical infrastructure, because you don't want to send a lot of data outside or poke holes through your network and send them somewhere else. So yeah, a good question.
So when you develop stuff, you tend to deploy it on your own servers separated from the internet, or are you using the cloud?
It mostly depends on the customer. And from my experience, they tend to not like have anything which isn't under their control. Basically, they want to be able to see a device, and if they don't like it, they want to just plug it out. Yeah, so ideally, yeah, it would be easier for cybersecurity companies to do all the cybersecurity analysis from their own company, you know, just get the data from everywhere. But most of the time when we were talking about OT, people don't want to do that. So you need to have some sort of a balance, which basically means that you need to also provide training, at least for, I don't know, layer 2, so that they can control some minor cybersecurity incidents, and then you step in if there is some big incident, basically like Stuxnet. But you also don't need to have people on a payroll for something that happens once in 20 years.
Viruses that attack Stuxnet know what to do once they get in the system. So if it's closed system, not for public, how do they know what to do or to change?
That's why I said it isn't confirmed, but it's highly suspected that it was funded by USA and Israel, because you need to have a lot of money to get that kind of information. So we're probably talking about, you know, counterintelligence. We're probably talking about CIA and FBI who got that information about what's inside the system. So they probably had some moles that got them the plans or the, I don't know, schematics, and based on that, they developed a specific virus just for that facility. So we're probably talking about hundreds of millions of dollars just for that virus. So that wasn't created by someone in their basement. It was created by professionals who worked for some intelligence agency, which had a lot of information and a lot of resources at their disposal.
Do you have any personal experience with handling tech or on your infrastructure or on your equipment?
Yeah, but nothing of this scale. Basically, just someone pinging something that they shouldn't ping, or installing some outdated virus that you can just delete with Microsoft Defender. Nothing of this scale. And thank God I don't, because it's not really a good experience, I would say. But yeah, there were some major incidents even in Croatia through the last couple of years, similar to this.
What kind of experts do you have in your team that actually is responsible for cybersecurity? Do you have some professional hackers or?
Well, when it comes to OT, there aren't many people who know that area. Why? Because you need to have expertise in both IT, so you need to know a lot about, I don't know, how networks work. So you need to know all of the TCP/IP stack. You need to know a lot about programming, a lot about operating systems, and then you also need to have specific knowledge for the facility you're trying to protect. So if we're talking about power stations, you need to know a lot about energy sector. So how transformers work, what is the most important thing within power station, what kind of data they're sending there, their own industrial protocols which are specific to power industry. So you need to have a people who have a mix of knowledge from both IT and their own specific sectors, and those people are rare. So that's why Concha has some advantage here, because we develop our own SCADA systems and we worked with power industry for the last 100 years. So we had a lot of knowledge there, but now we also have people who work in IT who know some, hacking skills and whatever. So we can combine those to create a team which can cover, well, all of the areas that you need to do this kind of cyber security for industrial applications.
When you deploy new systems, what do you use? Like, are you still on legacy systems like Windows XP, or are you on something new?
No, thank God, no more Windows XP, thank God, yeah. Well, it really depends if you deploy new systems. Sometimes you do see older operating systems, no XPs, but you can see, I don't know, Windows 7s, Windows 10s, you can. But in those specific situations, how do you protect those systems? For example, you have an application that was last updated 20 years ago. No one knows how it works anymore. You just know that it needs to be there and work. So how do you protect it? You protect everything around it, so-called island protection. So you protect all of the ingress and all the inbound and outbound points, so that no one can get into and target that device. That's why I said you can't look at application as an isolated island. You really need to protect the whole system. Because if you do have a weak link in the system, that weak link can be exploited to infect the whole system. That's it? Okay, thank you.
kompirati bolje.
Meni ništa ne smeta.
Jer jednako širina je ta, ne može on to puno povećati ako uđeš u full screen.
Se samo da ako smeta.
Ma ne smije.
Nije Tonči došao. Dobre.
Reci koju ćeš poziciju. Bliže slajdovi. Bliže kompjuter.
A nemam pojma, ovako da vidim. A ne, pa vidim to ovdje. Možemo početi. Hi everyone, my name is Kristina and I work as an engineer in the market department of the Croatian transmission system operator.
I'm Stjepan and I also work at HOPS in business integration department.
So let's explore the world of energy markets. Whenever we flip a light switch or start charging our laptops, our mobile phones, we join one of the most complex and intricate and vast systems mankind invented. Electricity requires continuous power balance, so whatever is produced must be spent, otherwise the frequency will deviate, and great frequency deviation can lead to global shutdowns in the long run. So if we want to achieve the power balance, we have to predict the daily load curve so that we know, so that we can know how much we have to produce. So basically this load curve is produced on historical data. This is a relatively simple task with the error is within 5%. The greatest influence is temperature. So when we have great needs for cooling or heating, then it affects the load curve the most. Specific events can also greatly affect the load curve. And I have two interesting examples. For example, this was observed during the FIFA World Cup game between Brazil and Chile. The blue line is a typical day, while the red line is the day of the game. You can see when the game happened. The typical consumption was 60 gigawatts on a normal day, but when the game started, it dropped by 15 gigawatts. Then you see the small peak in, I don't have a presenter, you see what I'm showing. That little peak of 3.3 gigawatts is when the halftime started. So everybody got up, opened their fridges, started microwaving food, and then it dropped again till the end of the game. Similar thing happened during Super Bowl. PJM is a US system operator, and they made an analysis. So this starts as a typical Sunday. Usage is down overnight and climbs as people begin their weekend routines. So turning on lights, computers, appliances. Demand flattens around lunch. And then we can observe that around 6 p.m., the curve spikes. And it starts going down because everybody is just watching television. All the appliances are down. Everybody is in front of the game. And when the halftime starts, we have a small peak. Everybody is going to the bathroom, reheating their food. There's another small jump just when the second starts, like quick going to the bathroom again. And then the consumption drops again because everybody is just watching the game. It is also observed that when the game is really close, then the consumption is down for the whole duration of the game. But when you can see who the winner will be, then people start doing different stuff before the game ends. And this is very important for the system operator to know in advance because they are responsible for planning the system, what generation will work when, because if we have too much generation, then the frequency will deviate, and then the system will start to shut down, because the frequency always has to be around 50 hertz. So power systems are an amazing piece of engineering. They are very complex networks. and they facilitate generation, transmission, and distribution of electrical energy from generation to consumption. Here are the key aspects. So we have generation. Those are thermal power plants that use coal, gas, oil. We have renewable power plants, wind, solar, hydro, and also combined heat and power plants. They all have their different sets of constraints, but we'll say something about it a bit later. In order to get the energy from generation to consumption, we need transmission network. Transmission network uses high voltages in order to lower the losses. When it gets to the distribution level, distribution network deliver electricity to final consumption. So all of this, it used to be like this. So it was one company. Everything was inside a vertically integrated utility. We have generation, transmission, distribution, and supplier, and as a customer, we are a passive user. We pay for what we spent, and that's it. But the liberalization separated those levels into, so we have production, transmission, distribution, and supply as separate categories, where it doesn't make sense to put a market on the transmission system operation, because you won't build another line and then compete who will use which line. It's too expensive. So transmission and distribution are heavily regulated, and they serve to bring the energy from generation to consumption, which are now tradable activities. So we have competitive market for trade in generation aspect and retail aspect. Yes, and that, okay, this picture is not really, we cannot really see what we have here, but because of the market, it brought new activities, because now we have storages, we have hydrogen, electric trams, electrification of transport. All of the liberalization of the market enabled new participants to enter the market. So just to repeat about, so what now do we have on in the market? We have different market participants. We have energy producers. Their only goal is to maintain their plants. They acquire resources such as coal, oil, gas, and they make sure that their plants adheres to all of the plant constraints. So they want to sell the energy, and that's their only goal. But they have to be aware, for example, thermal power plants, they take like 7, 9, 8 hours to shut down and then to start up again. So sometimes it's better for them to work at a loss for a couple of hours, and then in order to avoid the process of shutting down and starting up again, because in that time they cannot earn
Especially
anything.
nuclear power plants will not be shut down. They are a base power plant, so what that means is that they work for the whole day. And in the duration of, I don't know, 6, 7 months, they don't get shut down. It can lower their generation, but they will not get shut down. They will work even when the power prices are negative.
Yeah, because they need to maintain their minimum stable level. They are not going out of operation. So the energy consumers, it's all of us, individual businesses, industries. We only want energy, and we decide how much we want to pay for that energy, and that is influenced by our behavior, because some factories are willing to pay egregious amounts of money just to stay afloat, just to stay working for a couple of days, because they also don't want to shut down. So it can be observed in the customer side as well.
Some production facilities cannot shut down their production because the expense of turning it on again, it's too large to handle, and also the machines are not equipped for that kind of shutting down and turning on again. So.
But, so now we have some intermediaries, because now we have markets, so it made room for traders. They don't have to have plants in their portfolios. They can work with someone owning the plant, and they can sell their supply. More and more robots are doing the trading. We, in our company, we have a digital trader that acquires our intraday loss.
Yeah, we acquire power for our grid losses. So in every transmission system you have losses. So your transmission systems is made of power lines and transformer stations, and they all components have their own losses. So as a TSO, at HOPS we need to predict how much losses will we have at which point in time. So, and we have to acquire that energy even on a long-term basis and day-ahead basis and intraday, of course, to fix for small mistakes. When we, in real time, we can see actually if we made a mistake, and then we can correct during intraday to be in balance.
Yeah. Okay, and all of us have to comply with some regulatory bodies. So we have to follow the rules, standards, policies, different requirements, regulations. We have to be transparent, and we have to obey the law. Yeah. So energy cannot just be packed and shipped. It's a commodity that is very hard to store. It's transient form, so you have electricity only when it's flowing. If you want to store it, you have to convert it to another form of energy. It's very hard to balance, deliver, control, substitute price, and huge amounts of variables go into determining the price of electricity. Here we...
Maybe just to mention some varieties of storing energy is most common is big lakes, so artificial lakes that hydropower plants can then store energy and produce, convert it to production at times of high prices. Also, more and more common are big batteries. You can also find those batteries inside EVs, of course, but it's not so significant. And there is actually no other meaningful means of storing energy, so it's really challenging. Yeah.
So basically, one of the variables that go into supply side the dynamics is the resource availability. So the availability of resources such as fossil fuels. If you have a thermal power plant, you have to buy coal or oil or natural gas. If you have a wind power plant, you have to predict how much wind there will be, because you have to have an idea how much you will produce in order to trade that energy in the market. And factors such as geological reserves and technological advancements and the weather, all of those influence the resource availability, and of course the availability affects directly the price. As for power plant owner, an important factor is also the production capacity. You have to be aware of the maximum output of energy that is available for supply, and also you can invest in new infrastructure, maintenance and upgrades in order to have more capacity if it's tradable in the market in order to earn more money. Then some geopolitical factors are at play, also regional conflicts, trade policies, international relations. They all can affect energy supply chain and global energy markets. And events such as conflict in major oil producing regions can lead to supply disruption and price volatility. This photo is gone. Okay, this was a photo of average energy price, and it can be observed how the war in Ukraine affected the price. We had one big spike when the war started, and another spike when the gas lines were disrupted. And in the end, since Europe is very dependent on gas, a lot of investment in renewables started since the war. So we can observe that those renewables already lowered the price. Unfortunately, I don't know why the...
Much of these spikes were caused by, I mean, speculation actually, because the speculation was that gas will stop flowing from Russia, and of course that increased prices to sky high and history high. Then of course it settled a bit, but still it was so high for 2 years. And now we have some kind of a normal price for gas, but still it has to go down like 4 times until the pre-war levels.
But those high prices actually propelled the renewables investment. And of course, regulatory environment, different policies, regulations, incentives for environmental standards, emission control, land use, permitting. It all affects the development and operation of energy projects, and then again, the availability of resources, and then again, the price. So everything has to be approved. On the other hand, the demand side also has its own dynamic. So economic growth, GDP rise, industrial activity, it all grows the demand, but also consumer behavior. We are more aware of how much we spend of our footprint, carbon footprint. So we use more efficient appliances. Also the technological advances are being made. New technologies are entering power system. It all affects how the power system behaves, and it all has to be taken into account in order to predict the energy market behavior.
Yeah, so at the same time we have more efficient appliances and more EVs. So more efficient appliances of course lowers the demand, and EVs increases it, and it would, I mean, increase it to sky high levels. And we are, I mean, in the future we're gonna see, like in Croatia, maybe if you have now 2 gigawatts of load, we would have, I don't know, 2.5 gigawatts just from EV demand, and yeah.
And very, very high influences the weather conditions. If it's not, if there's no wind, the wind power plants are not producing. So we have weather patterns, seasonal variations, and climate factor that greatly impact energy demand as well. So the market is the place. It's not very. Can you see what is? Well, energy market is the marketplace where the commodities are bought and sold. So you can buy and sell derivatives such as coal and oil and gas, or you can sell electricity. The market has a crucial role in ensuring the reliable supply of energy to meet the demand. But since we have so many variables to take into account, market is temporarily scattered. We have different components of market at the different places in time. So some markets take place 1 year ahead, some are a day ahead, some are like intraday, 15 minutes before.
Yeah, so basically the upper part of the graph shows the market, I mean the market from market participants' point of view. And the second line is a TSO point of view. So basically, market participants can buy energy on a long-term basis. That would be this a year ahead or a month ahead, a week ahead, on a forward or futures market. And then when we get closer to delivery, they can bid on day-ahead market. I think you already heard about it and Kropek's part of the presentation. And of course, intraday market, which we already mentioned. But from a TSO perspective, it's closer to real time. So after this market participant part, TSO has to balance the system. And then it acts as a single buyer on a balancing energy market. So participants offer their, we can call it flexibility. So if they can turn down their production, their consumption, or turn it up as a TSO would want, they have their own bids on TSO systems, and TSO can accept or decline that bids. Of course, TSO would just accept the cheapest one. And after that, when everything is settled, I mean, when the delivery has passed, a TSO makes an imbalance settlement. So it means that market participant, when they act, they have to predict their consumption. And if they've failed in that, they will pay some penalties. And this is called imbalance settlement. So from TSO point of view, TSO is neutral in that way. But market participant can get paid or pay for their mistakes. So the one that was good for a market balance gets paid, and the other that didn't predict their production consumption well, they will have to pay some money. And TSO is there neutral.
So just about the futures market, you can, I think I already mentioned that you can trade electricity, resources to generate electricity, environmentals, agriculturals, etc. It's for future delivery. It enables medium to long-term portfolio optimization, and you can trade standard like monthly, quarterly, or yearly products, or short-term maturities like day, weekend, week futures.
Basically, what you buy on a futures market is just a financial product. So you buy, I don't know, yearly product. So I don't know, 5 megawatts of yearly load. And then when the day-ahead market opens, you are being settled according to that day-ahead price. And you also, if you want the real energy, real delivery, you need to buy it on a day-ahead market. With futures, forward the market, a futures market, you didn't buy electricity. You just bought a financial product. So like on any financial market.
So this is about day-ahead market clearing, if it is unconstrained. So the red line is the producer line. Every single power plant puts a bid in where they say what quantity are they willing to sell at what price. And at the same time, demand bid is what quantity are they willing to buy and at what price. The point where they meet is called point of equilibrium, and we have to maximize the social welfare. So we want to find the point where under normal conditions the limit price of demand order represents the marginal value for the buyer, and the limit price for the production what another megawatt would cost him. That's the marginal price. So the consumer surplus is the area below the blue line. That's the difference between what a consumer is willing to buy and the price they bought it for. The same thing goes for the producer. So in doing this, as a result, we get 24 cleared quantities and prices for the day ahead. So we do this optimization for each hour for the next day.
Yeah, so basically what the algorithm, the price is determined by the algorithm, and each and every market participant pays the same price, even though they were ready to buy it for, I don't know, more or less, whatever, but they all get the same price in this case.
Yeah, because that price is determined with the maximum social welfare. So that price means it's the best for everyone. In Europe, we have a market like that. We have an algorithm called Euphemia that gets all the orders. So you can see consumption bits and generation bits. They go into order book. But at the same time, Euphemia gets data about network, because between two zones, between Croatia and Slovenia, there is a line that has a certain capacity. So if there was no line, it would be one single market. If we have infinite capacity between different markets, it's as it's one single market and the price would be the same in the whole market. This way, we introduce constraints. By introducing constraint, we won't be reaching the optimum point as if it weren't for those constraints. So the result of this algorithm is a market clearing price for each bidding zone. So here we can see that some prices are low, the green ones are very low, but Italy is, for example, very red. They couldn't, if they could, they would import more energy from the countries where the electricity was at the lower price, but the lines connecting those countries were congested. They were full, they couldn't get any more energy through. This can be seen also in mathematically, where when where your capacity is infinite, you have a one point of intersection between the demand and supply curves, while at the second graph, you can see that when the quantity is limited, it means that the point will be shifted to the left and you get two prices. Yeah. So as a TSO, we have to have all the data because electricity doesn't really follow the money path. Electricity goes the least resistant path. And it's our responsibility that everything functions after the marketplace. So we get all the country's net positions, all the cleared supplies and demand and quantities per hours. All the producers have to send their generation plan. So with all those operation plans, TSO then sees if the network will behave correctly, if everything will go. If not, then we have to make a redispatch plan and pay to a producer that already sold their energy. So he already sold something. He got money for, I don't know, 100 megawatts, and we will be paying him to lower production because his 20 megawatts cannot go through. But at the same time, we will be paying another producer to get those 20 megawatts up because the demand is still 100, and it's the transmission line fault, let's say, that it couldn't take all that energy to the producer. But it doesn't make sense to make a new line or to make a very big line if those events happen rarely. So it's also a financial question. When do you invest in new lines or storage in order to prevent redispatching costs?
Us as a TSO, we must ensure that energy is flowing, and if there is congestion, we earn some money on that congestion, but we cannot spend it on anything else apart from building new transmission lines and enabling more capacity on each border that was congested.
Yeah. And also, as Stjepan also previously mentioned, we are planning for the reserves. So we are paying to some of the producers not to produce some quantity, to be available, to be activated in case of need. And then we pay for the activation as well. So you pay for the reservation and then activation.
Maybe to elaborate more on reserves. So TSO main
Task.
TSO main task is to maintain system balance. So if the system is not in balance, we need to activate the reserves. Of course, the system itself, if it's big, it has its own inertia and we don't have to activate anything. But if the disturbance is too large, there are special power plants that can lower or make their production higher, and it happens automatically. Of course, if the disturbance is even larger, there is a manual activation of those reserves. So we have to call a power plant, lower your production or increase it. But in European system is really a mesh network, so it's really interconnected. So we don't depend on ourselves, like, I don't know, some island would, like, I don't know, New Zealand, whatever. We are interconnected, so if there is a disturbance in our system, our neighbor would help. Of course, it's only a short-term help, and we need to activate our reserves as soon as possible for the neighbor to, remove their help, so their system would be at the optimal state. Otherwise, their system would be in non-optimal state, and some disturbance in their system would even make their situation worse in that case.
Yeah, and also in the new law, you can provide reserves as well, all of you. You can make an aggregator if you all have your Teslas and put them together, and then the system can use your houses, your cars to balance itself. Because if you're, I don't know, cooling to 22 degrees, it doesn't matter if we if we make you cool on 23 degrees and you get paid for that. Yeah. So that's the idea behind the aggregators, to take a lot of houses and to take a little bit from every single household, that they won't be affected by that, but it could help the system on a large scale. So a new law,
you can offer your services to
yes.
us as a TSO. If you are, big enough, I don't know, what's the limit, maybe 1 megawatt or whatever. But yeah, if you just design, yeah, you can form your own electrical, energy communities. So if you, I don't know, a part of the town can decide that, you are an energy community and you will act as one towards TSO. So you get paid for lowering your consumption or consuming more. Yeah.
So this is an example of what we do. So this is the last week European load, the black line, and all of these are European generation. So nuclear, coal, and this is how it gets, how the load gets covered. Here you can see what I mentioned before, how predictable the days are. You see those 4, the same ones, those are weekdays. It would be 5 of the same ones, but the 1st of April was a holiday, so it behaves similarly to Saturday and Sunday.
Maybe just, so you have your base load power plants on the bottom, so that would be nuclear and fossil power plants, I don't know, hard coal, hydro, run of river, As you go up, you get more intermittable energy, so wind, solar, and hydro reservoir. Yeah.
Okay, and then we mentioned a little bit about intraday market.
Yeah, I mean, intraday market is specific. In day ahead, you place your bids for the next day, and you get results, and the price is established. But in intraday, you can, I mean, it's a live system, so you place your bids, and you can wait for someone to accept your bid. I mean, to sell you some energy. Of course, you can, in real time, you can amend your price. You can also trade, as we mentioned, with the algorithmic trader, so that it follows the market price or follows whatever parameters you set up. We use it at Hops as well, as we said. I mean, continuous market is more similar to financial market. If you ever traded on a stock market, probably some of you, yeah. Anyway, you can trade in real time. You can accept your bid, your offer, and others can see any change you make. I mean, we have to mention here that, of course, there is still a network capacity that needs to be, I mean, it needs to be high enough for you to even see other offers. So, for example, here you can see each area that the bids come from, for example, Norway. But you can only see it if there is enough transmission capacity between Croatia and Norway. There is not only a single path, there are multiple paths from Norway to Croatia. And all of them combined makes the ultimate number of capacity that you can see. So if someone, I don't know, put a bid of 200 megawatts in Norway, there needs to be enough capacity for you to see it. It will be only visible to traders in Norway if there is not enough capacity.
Yeah, so electricity and thermal storages and sector coupling, the electrification of transport, those are cornerstone of a green transition process. There are very interesting stuff happening in power systems. We participate in different R&D projects with different research facilities, and if you're interested in our activities or have a proposal to do something, you're more than welcome to contact us. So, yeah. Thank you.
We forgot to mention during our presentation that you can stop us anytime, but now you can ask whatever you like. If you have any question to elaborate more or something something completely different. Yeah.
So when the ongoing supply is created, like producers produce the electricity, we've learned that it's a merit-based pricing, or what is it? So I know that you can't predict with full accuracy renewables and those more relative, producers of energy, but the more stable producers of energy, such as coals and nuclear power plants, do they disclose it? Like, is the information available for like scheduled maintenances and also like aside from the maintenances, how often does it happen that an unpredicted failure causes kind of short, like a drop in production?
Yeah, I mean, maintenances and they are all published on a transparency platform. So each of them is obliged to publish their maintenance plan. But of course, if it's not a planned event, of course it affects the market really seriously. especially in those short-term time frames, so day ahead and intraday.
But it's not very often. There is a number that I cannot remember, what is it called, for the unpredicted events, how much the statistical parameter that tells us how often does it happen based on the technology. It's taken into account, it happens, it can have huge consequences. For example, in 2006, a dispatcher in Germany made a mistake with wind. I'm not sure, but as far as I remember it, he made a mistake with dispatching some wind power plants. It led to a global shutdown. Some places in Italy, in Poland, were without electricity for about 2 weeks. And actually, our line saved the system. Because when you go into complete shutdown, it's very hard to get the system up again. But the line connecting Zagreb and Osijek realized the power, what is it called? Power swing, and disconnected from Žerjavinec up. And then it was possible to start the system again from that line.
I mean, these things can happen also in a transmission system, but your question was more to producer. And I mean, it happens. The transmission system problem happens more rarely, but producer maintenances that were unexpected happens. I mean, it's quite frequent. Maybe not in Croatia, but in the whole European system, it's not so uncommon. And of course, it would cause spikes. Yeah. And in intraday, it could be a good opportunity for trade. So it's a really good speculation. I mean, it's not really even speculation because you know it will spike. The price will spike, but maybe guessing where it would end up, it's a really good opportunity.
I have 2 more questions.
Sure. No one else, or?
How do you account for transmission loss? You mentioned the transmission from Spain to Croatia, and I assume there are multiple stations in between, and that may result in loss of what was sent there.
Well, each TSO, so basically each country accounts for their own losses, and there is a system. I mean, it's established in Europe that if transmission through your country caused, I mean, if the other country caused the transmission to go through your country and there were losses because of that, they will bear some cost of that loss. So it's not really simple. Of course, you will cover it at first, I mean, in day ahead or intraday. But after, like 2 months after, you will get reimbursed at least for a part of that energy. It should be the whole amount that was caused by others, but I don't know, I'm not sure about the exact amount. But anyway, it's covered, it's cooperation, so we are all interconnected and it needs to be covered because you have situations, for example, that Germany causes a lot of losses around the country, I mean, around Germany. So all of the neighboring countries get reimbursed for that loss. Yeah. You had another?
Right, so my questions are kind of connected. First one is, in a day-ahead market, like if a capacity between borders is limited, you said that the exchange imposes, or whoever, the algorithm imposes like a constraint. It seems as that constraint leads to inefficiency right off the bat. So like, can you expand a bit more on that? Like how, since you do a constraint and you cut off essentially the quantity, suppose demand intensifies, is that the part that the regulator buys, or is it the part that's reserved for reserve production, or like how does that work? It seems counterintuitive.
It's complicated. The answer is really complicated, but I mean, the TSO offers as much capacity as it safely can. So if that, I mean, if more capacity is asked for, there is a congestion on that border, and we get paid for that. We get paid from the difference between, I don't know, Slovenia price and Croatia price. That is our income. And then we need to invest that income into new power lines. But I'm not sure that was your question, actually.
Right, okay, but let me simplify it maybe a bit. So there's a point, like some quantity where the equilibrium quantity, and if that quantity is lower than the constraint, then it doesn't matter, or
Yeah.
is the constraint
No, it doesn't matter.
relative? Ah, okay.
No, it's not relative. It's fixed.
It's a
amount.
fixed amount because it's an actual line that exists between the countries. So we know what the capacity is and we offer that capacity. And if it happens very often, then you will get the congestion rate very often, and then you will be able to invest that money into building, I don't know, a parallel line, making more capacity, and then you will offer more capacity, and then those things will not happen quite often. But it has to happen sometimes, but then it doesn't make sense to, if something is happening like once a year, then it doesn't make sense to invest in a whole new line, because that's a very expensive project, and it's a long-term project. Like, in order to make a new line, you need like 10 years sometimes to get all the permits, to buy the land from people who moved to Australia 50 years ago and stuff,
The thing is,
like that.
sorry, the thing is, this calculation is not perfect. So you need to account for mistakes in the calculation. So you need to have some buffer. So this amount is lower than it could be, this constraint. But you need to keep the system safe, because otherwise you could have blackouts. And that is not something that any of us would desire.
Yeah. But if the capacity were infinite, then the market would be like one.
Right, and the last question, when the arbitrage happens, so say Croatia has more demand, whichever the mechanism is, but say at some point in Croatia the price is higher than in Slovenia, and essentially the arbitrage happens, like you import cheaper electricity from Slovenia.
Yeah.
So who capitalizes on the difference? Like, who are the arbitragers? And
Good traders.
yeah,
Yeah, well, some traders do have very powerful prediction models in order to capitalize just on that. But you have to predict a lot of different factors in order to find that that situation when it happens. But yeah, traders do that.
like in the real world, not in futures market, like the market itself, but in actual physical market, like you have a discrepancy between, like, can that happen like immediately? Say 15 minutes ahead, you realize that the consumption is greater than you expected, and that you can, rather than paying your own producers, you can get the electricity from across border. Does that happen so that the prices converge? Or
If there's capacity.
Well,
so as long as there's capacity, the prices will converge.
Yeah, yeah. The algorithm works. It wants the price convergence. The only thing that stops it is the physical constraint that's in place.
yeah, I mean, the situation you mentioned is intraday market. So you can basically see how it performs in real time. So, of course, it's not really 15 minutes ahead. It's 1 hour, unfortunately. So 1 hour ahead, you can see the price, and that's the last moment. Then it closes. In future, I mean, pretty soon it will be half an hour, and we are going, further. But you can react on those situations, yeah. The thing is that in a continuous market, it's a bit different. The price is not formed as, that it will converge to a neighboring country, but I mean, it happens, yeah, sure.
Where is that data? So we have like a supply and demand curve, right? And where is that data? Is it like, where's the market at?
It's published on the same page that I mentioned, the transparency platform, and or for example, in Croatia on our website.
Each country has its own market, nominated electricity market operator. Some countries have several of them. So Croatian suppliers and customers, we put our bids at Cropex platform. And Cropex then sends all the order books to Euphemia. That's,
if that's what you asked, the market is at Cropex. So you just log on their site, and you can buy, you can place your bids in day ahead, or you can trade on the screen that we had for a continuous market. That's all on Cropex site. But of course, as I mentioned, it's not only Croatia, it's all interconnected. So you can buy energy from Spain, whatever. So you're not buying the curve. I mean, if you are a supplier, of course you are buying the curve. At least the part of that curve that belongs to you. But if you're just a trader, or you can, just buy and sell, do whatever. No more questions. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bilo je prilično dobro. Čak smo 7 minuta pauze.
Dobro je bilo. Zadovoljno.
Ja sam zadovoljna. Ti si to profesionalno odradila?
Ne, pa super si bio, kao što si se uče, baš si objasnio stvari koje nisam stala na pamet.
Nisam previše dao.
Ne, super je bilo, pa baš smo bili okej.
Da,
I u jednom trenutku sam mislila da ćemo biti prebrzi.
Što da smo?
U jednom sam trenutku mislila da ćemo biti prebrzi.
Da. A nije, ima tu dosta. A ipak smo dobili, ne? Hvala.
Hvala.
Ovo ću okviriti.
Stavit ćemo u ured.
Ovo doma držim da ženi pokažem kako sam ipak sposoban.
Kaži si pošaljio i snim.
Da. Ništa, hvala. Bilo je lijepo. Nadam se da je bilo zanimljivo. Sretno na testovima. A ne, to je bila rečenica za velike ove...
Ali je i residential, ti ako imaš solarni, tebi se naplati ako guraš previše u mrežu.
Ne, trenutno ne. Trenutno sve što guraš dobiješ pare nazad. To jest ne tiraš s onim što si proizvela, što si potrošila. Znači manje će ti biti računi. Ti ne moraš prognozirati svoju potrošnju. Trenutno to možda bude poslije, kad ti imaš posebno neku tarifu gdje ti je jeftinija struja, onda možda budeš morala prognozirati, ali trenutno ti je to...
A ako proizvodiš više nego što koristiš?
Nema veze, zato što to su zanemarivi iznosi.
A zašto onda neki gase? Recimo ovi koji rade po Dalmaciji, koji su prazne kuće, oni gase, zato što su previše gurni.
To je bio stari zakon. Sad je novi zakon gdje ti, od 1.1. ove godine, gdje ti možeš puno više proizvesti nego što si potrošila. Ali opet nema veze sa prognozom, jel? Nego ako potrošiš više, dobit ćeš, ako proizvedeš više, dobit ćeš maksimalno 10.000 kuna od HEP-a. Znači, to je maksimum. A prije, po starom zakonu, si ti prelazio u nepovoljniju tarifu kad si proizveo više nego što si potrošio. Ali to više ne vrijedi.
A ovo na veleprodajnom tržištu, to je onda...
To sam ja spomenuo. Ti moraš platiti, da, ali to nema veze. Ne, ja sam baš sad ću staviti solarke, tako da to je provjereno. Iz prve ruke. Eto, jesi uzela sve, jesi?
Jesam.
Vodu, hoćeš? A, mikrofon. Evo.
Mikrofon.
Ja nisam ništa uzeo, ne ti. Snimje tu.
Bilo bi super ako bi mogla biti to negdje na stolu da ga možeš stisnuti. kako da se uvuče kabel? Ako nije...
Da se može spojiti na...
Da se mogu, znaš, da mogu malo pogledati Ako je, da se čekat ću. Aha, mikrofon. Dobro. Jel me čuje neko? Okay, hi, hello everybody. Welcome to Energy Trading 101, getting started. So first I will tell you a few words about E.ON in Croatia and Europe. Then we will go straight into energy markets, impact of economic and geopolitical factors, forecast for the consumption, and some of the examples. So E.ON is a German company with headquarters in Essen. We employ about 69,000 people. We have a 8.1 billion euros EBITDA, and our net income in 2022 was 2.7 billion. We are divided into power and gas distribution and customer solutions. We have 36.4 billion euros regulated asset base. We have 1.6 million energy networks and about 80 gigawatt of renewable capacities. In our customer solutions, we are a leading retailer in Europe with our 48 million customers, and we have about 5,700 energy infrastructure assets. In Croatia, we supply our 115,000 customers. We are a leading player in PV households installation in Croatia, and we are providing solutions for sustainable energy goals and transition. Our biggest project is Pliva with 9.9 megawatt peak, which is the largest grounded mountain PV in Croatia. And we have about 70 plus megawatt peak of PV installed. Okay, so that is about E.ON. We will go straight into energy markets because this is why you came here. And for the start, I will tell you how it all started. So electricity is an essential good that we all need in industry, heating, cooling, and in everyday use. Liberalization of the electricity market started in the early 90s, where it was provided access, the countries provided access to their national grids for all the players on the market. In early 2000, customers could freely choose their suppliers, and this is what opened the just a second. This is what opened the market for other players. Also, in late 2000, there was an unbundling, which is actually separation of the energy production and transmission. This all got to the diverse market participation and just a second, and which all led to the okay, just a second. Which all led to a variety of companies involved in production, trading, market, and transmission. What are the challenges with electricity? Well, electricity is difficult to store. This is the first one. And the second one is that the frequency in Europe must remain stable at 50 Hertz, which is a real-time problem, and you need to follow real-time imbalance in the system. How do we do that? Is by involving energy exchange markets, which are platforms where members can submit their sell and buy orders and facilitate calculation of the market price based on supply and demand. This is transparent and reliable price formation, and there are two ways in which market participants can trade their electricity. First one is with organized electricity markets, which are anonymous. They provide liquidity. You can go on organized electricity markets just by, just a second. Just by satisfying commissioning rules, and you can trade on them. Second one is the bilateral market, which is over-the-counter market, where electricity is traded between two counterparties, and you have on the one side you have buyers, on the other side you have sellers. They allow greater flexibility in the contracts, and you can tailor the contracts by your means and needs. So what are key electricity trading products? First, we have forwards. These are the long-term contracts in which you can trade the products of year, quarter, month, or some customizable products. You will have the delivery of those products sometimes in the future, and you can trade up to 3 years in advance. You can trade them on exchange markets or over the counter. Second one is the spot market, which is day-ahead or intraday trading, where you can trade electricity with the delivery within 24 hours on the day-ahead market or 30 minutes before the delivery on intraday market. You can trade spot markets only on exchange, and there is no over-the-counter option. Capacity contracts is reservation of the capacities between two countries, which guarantees that the capacity will be free for your usage. Also, there is a renewable energy certificates, which guarantees that your electricity was produced in green from the green sources like wind, solar, power plants, or biomass, biogas, nuclear, etc. Those are traded on specific markets, and there are guarantees that your electricity was green. So after a trade was made, a clearinghouse steps in, which makes sure that the trade will be completed till the end, so you will get your electricity, and also the payment will be fulfilled. So before market coupling, you need to trade electricity in 2 steps. First step was to reserve the capacities, and in the second step, you needed to buy the electricity. After market coupling, it was the constellation of the flows and the prices of the electricity. So in this way, we gained a greater market integration, which reduced customer prices and improved cross-border transmission of the electricity. This is the JAO action for the border between Hungary and Croatia for the yearly capacities, and it was traded at 1.44 euros per megawatt hour. Renewable energy. So you all are probably know about the war between Russia and Ukraine, which rapid the integration of the renewable energy in the Europe, and also which was driven by sustainability goals and policies and technological advancement. So solar is really, really difficult to predict their output because it is highly they're highly dependent on the weather. Solar and wind. For example, this is the example of our production from our PV plant on the Sunday, or 6th of April 2024, and this is the last Thursday. So you can see where there is a drop, that is when the clouds appeared on the sky, which is really, really hard to predict because you do not have sufficient enough weather forecasts and everything else. Also, what is the problem is that you do not have the history to make a really, really good forecast out of the from the old data that you need to use in your models. So, what impact do the solars have on the price on the market? It is the cannibalization effect, because in the time when your solar is producing a lot of energy, the demand sometimes is really, really low. And when these two things happen, the negative prices occur. So, for example, the smallest price that you can trade electricity is minus 500 euros. This means that you produce electricity and you sell it to someone and pay them money. which is really, really a big problem because you provide the electricity, grid needs to be stable, and you need to pay to someone who will take your electricity from you. In California, for example, the 40% of their national, of the total energy is from the solars, which then led to the duck curve, which means that in the hours where solar is producing, the prices are really, really low. For example, on the day-ahead market for today, this is the photo down here. Just a second. No, I have missed. So on this photo, this is the result of the day-ahead market in Croatia. You can see the same pattern than as from the duck curve. This means that the prices when solar was in their greatest output were around zero. So everybody who produced at those hours needed to, they actually got about €0 per megawatt for their electricity. The problem is that capture price, which is the amount of price that the renewables will get for their production, is getting lower and lower. For example, in Germany, it is currently at 94%. By the summer of 2026, it will be less than 80, and by the summer of 2029, it is estimated that it will be under 50%. Okay, so when we are talking about trading, the most important thing is when you get your customers, you need to hedge the quantities for them. So hedging is mitigating financial risk by securing the quantities at a certain price. It reduces exposure to the price spikes and dips, providing budget stability. This is, for example, the hedged for a volume of the consumption. This is a yearly product, quarterly, monthly product, and you can, all of the consumption you can cover by typical these portions. So there are few standard products. Baseload is, it means that you will get the same amount of electricity for every hour of that product. For example, if you get 1 megawatt baseload for the month, you will get 1 megawatt in every hour of that month. Same goes for year and every other product. Also, there is a peak load, which means that you will get electricity from 9 a.m. till 8 p.m. And there are different types of products according to the period of the year, that is year, quarter, month, peak, etc. And that's it. Okay, so long-term trading happens on the, okay, and this is really, really bad visibility, but this is Joule, which aggregates all the trades from different exchanges. First, we have Hungary, then Germany, I believe, Austria, Italy, and France. And the problem is that the exchanges are not very liquid. For example, in Germany, you have a lot of volumes which are trading, and in Hungary, which is the nearest one, and we reflect our prices to the Hungary, you do not have enough volumes for the exchange. So after long-term trading, you have short-term trading, which is day-ahead or intraday trading. You can trade on Cropex, Hupex, Cepex, or Nord Pol. This is the Croatian market, Cropex. Hupex is Hungarian. Cepex is Serbian, and Bazpol is Slovenian. And the problem with electricity is that it is an uneven consumption. So everything that you cannot buy on the base load profile or peak load, you will get on the day-ahead market. Also, everything you have that exceeds your consumption, you will sell on it. So at day-ahead trading, you do not know the price before that you made a trade. It is blind auction, and we have the curves of demand and supply. When they crosses, they make a marginal price, which is the price that our quantities were traded on. For day-ahead market, we have 24 of these curves for every hour of each day. And you trade on the ahead by giving your orders for bid and ask orders for the next day delivery, and you need to submit them by noon, Central European time. Then the exchange closes, and you will get your results at 1 p.m. After that, after you acquire your quantities on the ahead market, you will go to the intraday trading, which means that you will balance your system according to real-time data. You can get electricity on intraday market 30 minutes before the delivery. So, for example, if your market went up, you will buy electricity, and if your consumption went down, you will sell it. Intraday market is open 24/7, and you have traders who are working constantly and just trying to balance their system. So what are the impact of economic and geopolitical factors? For example, since 2020, we had first COVID lockdown, which started at the beginning of 2020, and all of the people went to their homes. The electricity demand was really, really low, and this driven the prices down. After that, we had economic recovery because lockdowns were just starting to ease up, and the industry started to work again. Then on the May 2021, this is the first indicator that something was going on. This is the first time that Gazprom did not reserve additional capacities through Ukraine to Europe. And we saw a really, really big spike in our electricity prices. Well, we thought that that was a big spike because afterwards, well, if you see where is the May of 2021, it is really not even showing on the graph. When the war between Russia and Ukraine started on the 24th of February, the prices went straight up. This is the spike you see on 2022. And then when Europe responded with the sanctions towards Russia, and Russia decided that they will shut down the gas supply to Europe, the prices went even higher. So the biggest price that we saw on exchange was about 1,000 euros. Just for reference, today's price was about 90 euros, something like that. So it is really the biggest spike that anybody ever seen on the exchange markets. So forecast is something you do on a monthly, daily, yearly basis, depending on your consumption. And you do it in a few stages. First, you will need historical data and consumption of your customers. You will need the weather forecast because weather is really, the consumption is really dependent on the weather. You will need calendar information. For example, is it a weekday, is it a Friday, is it a weekend, holidays, bank holidays, or something like that. You will need economic indicators. For example, when the prices went up, some of the biggest industry in Croatia were shutting down. For example, the production of fossil, как se kaže umjetna gnojiva? Petrochemia. Yes, petrochemia was shut down, for example, because they're really highly dependent on the gas prices and they were just skyrocketing. And then you will need renewable energy production and also load profiles. Load profiles are actually categorization of your customers and of your portfolio. For example, we can divide them into two main categories. The households, small businesses, and public lighting will depend on artificial curves, and you will offer them fixed price, for example, if you want to sign them with a contract. So households will have a spike at 8 p.m. Because all of the people came home from the work. Small businesses will have the spike throughout the day, and public lighting, well, it's working only throughout the night. When we are talking about bigger customers, we have daily metering. So that means that you will have their consumption for every hour of the year. For example, here is on the first graph there is a hotel, second graph is a bank, and the third graph is a factory. In those type of customers, you can give them more and more opportunity. For example, you can give them a fixed price, you can give them index price. Maybe they want to have their fluctuating price on the CropEx. Maybe they want to determine how do they want to fix their quantities or hedge their profiles. So for example, this is the example of the factory. They work throughout the week, and they have really, really low consumption for the weekends. So in an example, what you will need for trading. First, you will need the customers. You will need the customers, either household or small businesses, or some of the bigger customers. Then you will need to hedge their consumption by either going on forwards market and by going on forwards market. Then you will need to forecast their consumption for the ahead, so you know what you will need to trade on the spot market, because you do not probably have sufficient enough of the quantities on the forward contracts. When the day of the delivery comes and your customers start to consuming their electricity, you will need to balance the system. You will do that throughout the intraday balancing. So I will show you for the last, I will show you the example of how some social events can, how social events can affect the consumption of the electricity. Okay, so I told you that you will need historical consumption data. For example, we have historical consumption of the, okay, first, we are doing forecast for the December 9th, 2022. We have historical consumption of the past few days. We have weather forecast because it was a slightly warmer day in December, but it was supposed to rain in the afternoons. And what was interesting about this day is that there was a match between Croatia and Brazil, and it was a national football match. Okay, renewable production was low, and load profile had no changes. So we made a forecast, and it was all going so well until the hour of until 4 p.m. So if you see this graph, the 4 p.m. is when the match started. Okay, so when the match started, the consumption went really, really down. Why? Because the second shift of the people that were working did not use their machines and everything. They actually were in front of the TV. This was the start of the game, and I was the lucky one who was balancing the system and who needed to trade on intraday. At this point, I was trading for the ending of the game. So you need to trade 1 hour in front before you know your profile at that point. So I traded for the end of the game, and I did trade that more and more people, as they come home from the work, will start to watch the game. But what happened at the end is that the result was 0-0. So we went to the overtimes. I did not count that in because I did not think that we will have the results 0-0, that we will have the overtimes. So when the overtime started, more and more people start to watch the game, and the system dropped down even more. Just for reference, expected curve, if there was no game, is the black one. So if you look at the difference between the black one and the red one, this is really, really a big difference for electricity consumption. At this point, I needed to trade for the end of the overtimes. At 105th minute, Neymar gave goal, and then in 117, Petkovic did. So we went straight to penalties. And this is the penalties which just dropped electricity even more. So at this point, I was really just like now, I wasn't even thinking with my head, but it's okay. And after that, well, what happened? Everyone went out drinking. So all the bars were full, all the clubs were full, and everybody started to use electricity again, except in this point where there were penalties, because if the TV is the only thing that's working and no machines are not working, well, the electricity demand is really, really low. That's it from me. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions.
Can you short electricity on like spot market? Like
On the spot market, okay, I can. Just I need to sign in. Just a second.
Short, not show. Short. Short position.
It's
short position.
Short position. Sorry, can you repeat?
Can you take a short position on a spot market?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. I heard it. Can you show the intraday market? Yes, you can. You can take short position in intraday. Yes.
And how does that work? Like, can you do it on day ahead market, or does day ahead market only operate on long positions when it's high sell?
Sorry, can you be a little bit more?
Can you short electricity, on a day ahead market, and then close the position by buying on intraday market and closing the short position?
Yes, yes, you can. So on the ahead market, you want to go short, right? Okay, you will sell the electricity in those hours, and then you will you want to go back to the normal in intraday. Is that the question? Yes, you can do that, but for example, that is real-time trading, and you do not know how your price will go on the intraday. For example, you can put the trade for the ahead at really high, okay? You will sell the electricity, but then you don't know what will be the output on the intraday. For example, when the lowest price on the ahead, minus 500 euros, was reached, on intraday market, at that same hour, the electricity was traded at about 10 euros. So that is 510 euros difference between those two markets. So that is something that is speculative. You can do that, but if your group approves it.
As for trading electricity market, like, can I, like, for example, open up a firm and register a firm as a trading firm on the market without consuming any electricity? So just be a sole trader.
Yes, you can. You need to admission registration rules on the market, so on the exchange market, which is some bilateral costs, the deposits, and everything. So after you commission that, you can go on electricity market without the customers. Yes.
You need some government permission to trade electricity.
Yes, you need. Yes. Yes.
Questions. First one is how much daylight saving is actually saving, and the second one is you can go. Okay. The second one is does every football game look like that, and is it predictable if he knows that the game is coming, or this was anomaly?
Okay. First, daylight savings. Can you repeat the question?
How much daylight saving is actually saving?
Okay. How much the production of the solars are saving? Is that right? No.
If we have more daylight,
Okay.
how much less
Consumption.
implies.
Okay. So when we are talking about summer temperatures, you will use electricity for cooling. So when the period of the for example, cooling is really spiking the consumption curve up. But at the other point, because of the solars, you will have low prices at that point because you have a lot of sun at those times. But for example, in the months of April and May, you have really low demand in those hours because people are outside and they do not use electricity for cooling at this point because it's not that hot. And you have really, really high solar output. So yes, to answer your question, it depends on the month or on the temperature. If the temperature is really high, you will have the high consumption because of the air conditioning. And did I answer your question or?
Would we be better off if we were not using daylight savings, or?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why does it then exist?
Why does it exist? Well, because I think that you need to. I think that those things need to be. How do I say? That you will need, that the government needs to. Как да кажем, окренут, Матija?
Start initiative.
What?
Start initiative.
Yes, start initiatives, so for the daylight savings not to be included anymore. Okay, football game, right? Yeah, so football game, for example, this was the, I think, quarterfinals, something like that, with the game against Brazil, and this was our straight going to the finals. So this is really the biggest drop in the electricity consumption that the football game generated in Croatia, because it was really, everybody was watching that game. Yes, games will affect the electricity consumption. Also, some of the other things, when you have, when people from Croatia went to Zagreb to meet football players, about 1 million people went to Zagreb, so you don't have 1 million people using electricity at that point. They're all on the main square. So all of the social events will actually affect your electricity consumption. Okay, yes?
Can you show energy trading?
Energy trading. Can I show energy trading? Oof.
I'm not sure we're allowed to, because Colex is already trading in its real-time data, so...
Yes, but I can show you the photo of the market. Just a second. So I'll just... what's happening? Second. Okay. Okay, so this is your exchange market. You will have the, can I have, okay. This is the order depth, this is the demand, and this is the volumes that are traded to sell. And this is where your bid and asks are shown. So for example, at this point, someone is buying 3.5 megawatts at 175 euros, and someone is selling for 0.8 megawatts at 176 euros. When these two trades are matched, then the clearinghouse will step in and the electricity will be traded, so the deal will be locked in, and you will have matched. So for example, at this point, we bought for the 15-hour 1 megawatt at 155 euros. So this is how the electricity exchange actually looks like. And yes, you have your capital on the CropEx, and you can trade until you, well, use it all. So that's it. Yes.
One more question about the football game. How much money did you lose by trading? Yeah,
A lot.
not predicting that.
A lot. I mean, I think that at the hour when the penalties were on, I was about 10 megawatts long. So that's really, really a lot because at that point, I think that the electricity was trading about 200 euros, maybe something like that. So only in that 1 hour, 2,000 euros were just like gone. And yeah, it was fun times. I mean, we had team building on that day. We had our Christmas party actually. So I went to the Christmas party with my laptop and just like, okay, I hope that everybody will be drunk till the midnight so nobody will notice that at that 1 hour, 2,000 euros were just like gone. But it's okay. This is my boss right here. He's fine with me, so it's fine.
Doesn't seem fine.
We had the talk. It was 2022, so we had the talk.
2,000 euros per kilowatt, or
What?
2,000 per kilowatt, or
No, at that point, 1 megawatt was trading about 200 euros on the intraday market. So it was 2022. So we had that extreme. Just a second. Where is the spike? So if we look at 2022, it was around here. So maybe even more, maybe even about 400 euros were trading at that point. So for example, at this time, I think that electricity is trading on the intraday about 100 euros, something like that. But at that point, it was about 200 or 400 euros. So 1 megawatt was trading at 400 euros. I did not sell 10 megawatts that I should have, that I should sell, and it was actually 4,000 euros in that particular hour. Because you sell 1 megawatt at, yeah, okay. Yes.
So ignoring all these external events, have you noticed any noticeable change in demand across the 4 seasons in the year?
Yes, demand in the, yes, definitely. Because, for example, for the social events, just for the social or generally throughout the season?
I mean generally.
Generally, okay. Yes, definitely, because during the winter time, the night falls really, really early, so people will go home, and also weather is cold, and everybody's use electricity for, I don't know, maybe in Dalmatia they use it for heating, in Zagreb they're using just for social things, and so on and so on. But during the summer you will have the peak about 5 p.m., something like that, when people come home from work and they start air conditioning and everything. So you can see how different type of consumption will affect your curve. During the summer, the curve will look different than during the winter or fall. I think that the fall and the spring is really the hardest to make a forecast, because on one day you will have, I think that 2 weeks ago there was a snow falling, and then the same day afternoon was about 20 degrees. So that is something that's really, really hard to predict. But during the summer or winter, well, all the days are practically the same, depending on the weekday or weekend, or so on.
But across the board, you would say so that the spring
Spring and fall, most energy. I think that spring and fall, the problem with spring is that you have really, really high solar output and you have really, really low demand. So you have the problem with prices, you have problem with just how the weather will affect your consumption. You have a big differences between the consumption and the production, and that's actually the main reason why it's hard to forecast. Anybody else? Yes.
Trading that you do, is it like really a person trading, or what's the percentage of like what's the human impact for the trading? I thought that it would be much more optimized, let's say.
Okay, it could be much more optimized, but well, we have some problems with our curves of load profile and the consumption profile. So before me, you heard a lecture from hops, and actually you will have the data from hops. Sometimes that data is not truly good one. So you will need a lot of knowledge and just a lot of knowledge to see whether data is okay or not. For example, I will show you the photo of yesterday trading. I think this is it. So you will see that at our 5 p.m. there is some disruption. Why is it so much higher than the 4 p.m. or 6 p.m.? So you need to see that the consumption, real consumption, is the red line, and the plan of the consumption is the blue one. So you will need to trade so that you're trying to predict how the red curve will go. And at this point, you will, if you have robots, for example, trading for you, maybe the robot will take this into account and say, okay, I will need a surplus of energy at this point. But if you have people trading, they will know, okay, this is the thing that it's an outlier, and I will not use that into my calculations, and so on and so on. Many firms are using robots, but there is a lot to implement from artificial intelligence and a lot of advanced systems. So that's really what it is.
Maybe just to expand a little bit, short-term trading can be automated, but all long-term trading futures, etc., are done speculatively. So that means there's always some speculation into geopolitical stuff and so on, which no robots ever can predict. And traders always work for a fee, and it's mostly done bilaterally. So someone, broker or someone else, wants to buy this product, or you want to sell this product, and there's always some human expert behind those trades. So short term, yes, can be automated, and mostly is, and long term, always done through experts.
Thank you. But the intraday options are then along the...
Intraday options are within the day, so you trade within this day for the future hours. And you can use this real-time data. You can use your own from SCADA systems from your production, and you can determine your position whether you're long or short. And you can, as soon as you see some discrepancies, you can have a robot trade that. But then again, on the other side, you can also speculate that the later will be better time to sell, and then an expert or someone who has more insight than robot can speculate on that and risk to earn more or lose more. So this is a job where you can risk or go on the safe side.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, then good luck on hackathon. Šta me treba prvo? Šta me treba?